Hello everybody, good morning. Please confirm if you can hear me. Good morning to one and all attending this live session today. Please confirm in chat if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning. Please confirm if you can see me, hear me loud and clear. Okay, perfect. So, welcome to Biotechnika's yet another power-packed, powerful webinar on International Day of Biological Diversity. I'm your host Shekhar, and today I am with three more educated, more powerful, more intellectual guests who are going to throw some light on biological diversity, how important it is. And so before we get started, I have a small introduction. Okay. Now, International Day of Biological Diversity, as you know, is celebrated by the United Nations across the globe. We celebrate this day, 22nd of May, 2020, as International Day of Biological Diversity. This day is a very special day for all the bioprofessionals, and that means all of us, and of course, all the entire humanity, given that we are facing the biggest crisis of humanity today, COVID-19, and of course the cyclone which was there in West Bengal and Orissa, right? It has become even more important today to celebrate biodiversity, biological diversity today, because we must respect nature, we must celebrate nature. And to celebrate this occasion, I'm joined by KTech. I'm joined by the chairman of FLEDGE. I'm joined by Association of Biotech-led Enterprises, which represents the entire biotech industry of India. I'm joined by the director of Natural Remedies, and of course, Biotecnika, and all of you to celebrate this beautiful occasion. So I have the guests as I can show you on the screen right now. So we'll start with the presentation. The first thing which I wanted to throw light on today is respecting the balance. Okay, we don't respect the balance. We all think that we are above the pyramid and all the animals, all the organisms are below us, but that's not the case. So today let us join hands to not just respect biodiversity, but also celebrate biodiversity, celebrate biological diversity. And I'm joined by all these intellectuals, all these people who have been there with us for past 30 years, 40 years now, working in this domain, working in this biosciences industry, and they will give more insights to the young generation, because ultimately it is you who is going to be the torch bearers of tomorrow. Am I right? You all are going to be the torch bearers of tomorrow. You are going to be the savior of Earth, okay? You are going to be the savior of biological diversity, and that is why we are celebrating this occasion to create awareness among the young generation, that is all of you, and I have a special request for all of you. And that special request is, please share this live broadcast right now on your social media profiles, okay? I want you all to care for Earth. At least this much you can do. Please share this broadcast, because once our speakers have started talking, by the time everybody should have joined in. Okay, so I want you to go and share this on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp status profile. You can urge everyone to join this cause, this common cause, and I want you to use the hashtag Biotecnika. I want you to use the hashtag I am biodiversity hero, because ultimately you all are the biodiversity hero. Okay, now I want you all to also attend this webinar till the end. Okay, because this webinar is going to give you a lot of insights. Okay, it'll give you insights on how to build, respect and balance the biological diversity. It will create awareness among you, your family, friends as well as relatives. So I urge you to invite everyone to attend this webinar, because they may not be from the biosciences industry, but definitely they all are a part of this ecosystem. And if we can create awareness, if we can create awareness among all of them, imagine what is the power we can create. Imagine the kind of ecosystem we can create, where everybody not just respects nature, nurtures nature, because in return we get so much from nature. Am I right, guys? Am I right? Please tell me in chat. Am I right? Yes. So, are you the biodiversity hero? If you are the biodiversity hero, please go to your social media profile and put a hashtag I am biodiversity hero, and share this YouTube link or Facebook live link with all your friends and family, so that everybody is aware of the need, the cause, and the effect of not respecting biodiversity, biological diversity. Okay. Now, at the end, Biotecnika will also be giving you e-participation certificates, which will be emailed to you. Okay. So please attend this webinar till the end, and do not forget to fill the feedback form. Whoever fills the feedback form will be getting the e-certificate. Now, before I actually jump into the real cause, I want to know, are you all ready to learn? Are you all eager? Are you all ready? If that is the case, please type ETL in the comment box. Please type ETL in the comment box. I want to see, do you have the energy? Yes, ETL. Type ETL in the comment box. Yes, okay, fantastic. I can see the entire chat box filled with ETL. So now that you all are eager to learn, let me introduce you to the first speaker of the day, Dr. Balakrishna Pisupati. He is an internationally renowned conservationist and development specialist. He has vast experience, close to 3 decades of experience working at national, regional, as well as international level. He holds several designations as a chairman of FLEDGE and various other designations. And today he is going to share his insights to the young generation, to all the viewers who are watching this video live right now, on the importance of biodiversity, on why we must respect biological diversity, and how we can further take this forward. Okay, so now that all of you are eager to learn, the next speaker would be Dr. Amit Agarwal, a special speaker who has joined us for the first time. He is the Director of Natural Remedies, and he will be talking to you as the second speaker, and he has obtained his master's degree in pharmacology from University of Sutherland, UK, and also holds a PhD in pharmacology. He has over 29 years of experience in research of natural products. Okay, and today he'll be with us talking on biological diversity. He is the Director of Natural Remedies. Natural Remedies is a company which doesn't require any introduction, right? We all know. Now, all this we were able to bring together because of the joint effort of Karnataka Information Technology Forum, also called as KTech, and of course ABLE, Association of Biotech-Led Enterprises. So I would also like to inform you that Mr. Narayan and Suresh will also be there with us today. And after a 30 plus years of stint as a professional editor and journalist with Times of India, DataQuest, DQ, Week, MIT's Technology Review in India, Biospectrum India, which is one of the most widely read biotechnology magazine, Biospectrum Asia. So after heading all these, he joined the Association of Biotech-led Enterprises in the year 2006. Sorry, 2016, and as a chief operating officer, and today he will be talking to you live. Okay, now that we will be proceeding to our next speaker, we have a special announcement to make. And this is only for those who promise me that they will attend this webinar till the end. If you attend this webinar till the end, like I said, you will be getting an e-participation certificate. There will not be any hard copy because obviously for printing paper, we need to cut trees. How can we cut trees? We cannot do that, of course, because we are celebrating biological diversity here, right? So we will be having a special campaign, and that's what I have told you earlier. Please hashtag Biotecnika and hashtag I am Biodiversity Hero. Mention this YouTube link so that people can connect to you. People can attend this webinar and gain more insights. Okay. So now quickly, I will just check with Dr. Narayan Suresh. So he's there with us. Okay. Okay, so I guess there is a mic issue with Dr. Suresh. So what I'll do is, he has sent me his message, so I will read that out for you, okay, while he's there on the screen. Never mind, these are his words, and I'm just reading those out for you, okay? So good morning, all those who have taken time off to join us today to celebrate the International Biodiversity Day. May 22nd was declared as the International Biodiversity Day by the United Nations in 2010. The practice started after the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. And from 1993, the International Biodiversity Day was observed on December 29. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organizers, the Karnataka Innovation Society, that is a part of the Department of Electronics, IT and BT and Science and Technology. The K-Tech brand of KITS is familiar to the community of Karnataka, India, and in many global cities. I would also like to thank the Principal Secretary, Dr. E.V. Ramana Reddy, and Managing Director of KITS, Ms. Meena Nagaraj, and the team at KITS for making this event happen at such a short notice to celebrate this important day. We at Association of Biotechnology-led Enterprises, currently in our 17th year of, have been working closely with KITS IT BT department in all activities related to biodiversity in the state. KITS has organized several interactions for the biotech industry with the Karnataka Biodiversity Board to spread awareness about the biodiversity laws. Now, these are very important laws, and also ensure that those who are dealing with the biodiversity are familiar with the issues and ensure compliance to ensure a sustainable environment for all of us. All these interactions have been packed halls, avidly looking forward to by the biotech industry in the city and the state. I would like to inform the audience that ABLE has been in the forefront of flagging all issues related to Biodiversity Act that the biotech sector has encountered. ABLE leadership has been working closely with the relevant government authorities to remove some of the major hurdles inadvertently introduced by the Biodiversity Act. that has come in the way of smooth functioning of biotech companies. As recent as January 2020, ABLE submitted a detailed memorandum to the Prime Minister's Office, Niti Aayog, and Department of Biotechnology urging some key changes in the Act so that the biotech industry can work at full speed to achieve the national goal of $150 Indian bioeconomy by 2025. Further to this, a five-member subcommittee appointed by Environment Ministry with Dr. Yogesh as chairman has been working out the modalities of making the access benefit sharing mechanism simpler. ABLE President Sri Kumar Narayan is a member of this committee and has been providing valuable inputs from the biotech sector. We are hopeful that as the government seeks to unshackle the various constraints faced by the national economy in the post COVID scenario, some of the issues related to the Biodiversity Act too will be addressed on urgent basis by the policy makers. We would also like to thank Biotecnika team for the technical support to make this webinar happen. We assure all the participants who are attending this webinar that ABLE and KITS will work together as always to take up all the issues facing the industry and resolve them as much as possible. So that was a message from Dr. Narayan and Suresh. His audio was not working, so I read out his message on his behalf. Okay, so now that we have our next speaker, okay, and that will be Dr. Pisupati, Balakrishna Pisupati. I would like to invite him to join the broadcast and talk to us. Dr. Pisupati, if you can hear me. Audience is requested to hold on while we connect to Dr. Pisupati.
Hello. Hear anything? Very, very good morning, colleagues. I hope you can hear me. And one of you can just say yes in the chat box so that I know that I'm both visible and audible. Because for me, I've had some connection. Yes, okay, fine, perfect. Thanks a lot, Dr. Narayan. Thank you very much, and very happy International Day for Biodiversity. Uh, Time to celebrate. Of course, we are going through a very difficult time, but this time is also giving a lot of us to basically slow down, reflect on what we've been doing, how we've been doing things, and also how to prepare for the future. The big advantage of a thing like a webinar, a discussion like this is that it gives a lot of opportunity for a lot of people to come on board. But the challenge is to a large extent, it's very challenging to know the background of the audience. Unlike a live seminar where you basically can prepare according to the audience. So certainly it will be a bit of a challenge. So what I'm going to do today is to give you a little bit of a status on where we are. But given that this particular session is organized by colleagues who've got big interest, who practice and also invest in biotechnology and using science and technology for development, I thought I'll be focusing on a few emerging issues thanks to COVID 19 that actually are going to be very important for a lot of us to consider, both in terms of science as well as in terms of policy. And I'm going to share the screen now. You can see the screen. And what I'm going to be talking today is the future of open source data and open access, because these are the two terms that we actually are hearing a lot. A lot is being written about these two issues, and a lot is being also discussed about the future of these two components. How open source data and open access of biodiversity, biological and genetic resources, and also the genetic sequence information of some of these is going to be deciding the future, both in terms of research collaborations as well as biodiversity conservation. And today, if there is one group of people who are going to be very, important among all of us, it's actually the frontline workers, as we call them, and also the scientists. Today, very suddenly, science has taken a very center stage of global debates. Scientists have become big heroes, which, for various reasons, scientists never had experienced so far. So science is driving not only our ability to stopping the spread of this particular virus, but also looking at finding a vaccine, looking at therapeutics and drugs, and also looking at issues dealing with prophylaxis. So anywhere you see today, there is a lot of information that is floating around in relation to this particular virus. How is it being done? What is being done? How do you find a vaccine? What are the challenges? But at the same time, we also are confronted with what is now popularly called as the infodemic, like pandemic. There's so much of information, people are finding it very difficult to assimilate. And unfortunately, to a certain extent, some of the information is also very incorrect or false information. But of course, it is left to individuals to basically filter what is correct and what is incorrect. But to a large extent, that has to be supported by these kinds of activities, where people will have an opportunity to sit and listen and understand on where we are with respect to dealing with the science and COVID. Just about a couple of weeks ago, I wrote an article on science diplomacy. Many of you probably have heard this term, but not often. But today, unlike diplomacy that is mostly based on politics and trade and finances and development, today science diplomacy is what is taking roots in many countries. The kind of international cooperation and collaboration that we are seeing is unprecedented in the history of science. And that is why a lot of countries are looking at diplomacy using science. And certainly, this pandemic has redefined the way countries actually are going to be using science also as an important tool and handle to deal with diplomacy in the future. We already have seen it, whether it is countries requesting drugs to be shared, or whether countries requesting equipment to be sought, or countries collaborating to develop the vaccines. A lot of these things are now taking shape, which was unprecedented in the history of both politics as well as science and technology. But the reason why this is very important is that a lot of these activities are happening with two things that is driving a lot of developments. The first one is the open source, and the second one is the open data. And what I'm going to focus today is how these two issues are so important driving the way we are looking at not just coming out of this pandemic, but how these issues are going to be shaping the future that will also have a very important impact on biodiversity conservation, the Convention on Biological Diversity, and most importantly, a very important element of the convention, which is called access to genetic resources and benefit sharing. A lot of times, there is a lot of misunderstanding about open source and open data. And to an extent, there is also a lot of misconception about sharing information and data. A case in point is a very simple thing, because now a lot of people receive e-newspapers, you receive e-magazines. Unknowingly, without even understanding some of the elements of how open this information or data could be shared, thousands of people actually are sharing and further transmitting some of these kinds of links in a manner to help others to read those articles and magazines and stuff. But the biggest distraction in this entire process is our inability to actually understand the intellectual property related issues. To a certain extent, open data is also being sourced the same way. Any progress that we see in terms of our ability to fight this particular virus is because of open data. People are putting out information. Today, perhaps in the first time in the history of science and technology in the recent, I would say, decades, we are getting articles which are even not being published, put online, not that are even peer reviewed, put online, so that more and more people can access this information, share their kind of reviews, share their comments and inputs. And that kind of an open data policy, or that kind of an approach to open data, is something which is really driving the speed with which we are able to move forward some of it. Many of you have heard of Ebola. It took almost 20 months for us to look at the possibility of having a candidate vaccine. And today, we were able to get a candidate vaccine in flat 25 days to 30 days. And that kind of a speed with which we are able to proceed was because people are able to share information and people are able to share data. But if there is one element of modern science that is helping this particular speed with which we are able to move forward, certainly it is this new area of science called synthetic biology. I'm sure many of you have heard of synthetic biology. Many of you have heard of this company, Moderna, based in US, which is actually now already going into the human trials of the vaccine. And there actually was a very, very important discussion that happened under this particular platform called SynBioBeta that looked at a vaccine report, or what is happening with respect to research and deployment of vaccines globally, that very clearly indicate that the future of dealing with any of the therapeutics, drugs, and vaccines related to these kinds of pandemics, which we expect to see more and more often coming in. At least in this decade, we have 5 pandemics that really we are confronting. Never in the history of humanity we had this kind of a speed and this kind of a recurrence of pandemics occurring to the size and to the scale and also to the destruction that has happened. So today we are talking of the future of medicine, the future of health science, future of biotechnology and synthetic biology in a very, very different kind of a framework. And that also brings in a very, very important discussion is that in as much as we want to bring solutions to find vaccines, there is also a parallel universe out there that is discussing on, yeah, all of this speed is good, all of these discoveries and drug deliveries are brilliantly done, but what happens to the private element of it, the intellectual property and open source? Who basically owns some of this information? And there was a very interesting article last week in Financial Times where they actually asked a very simple question, saying that given all the research that is happening today, including the speed with which we are able to get the candidate vaccines, now we have almost 48 countries who actually have come together. $8 billion are being invested by this consortium in terms of developing therapeutics and drugs and vaccines. The first question is that tomorrow if there is going to be a vaccine, who basically will decide on the price? Who basically will decide on the intellectual property related to that? Who is going to be looking at the access issues for countries or people who cannot afford the cost of it? There is a whole new dimension of that discussion that is happening at the background. For various reasons, it still has not spilled out. And that is why today, the issue of open source, open data, and intellectual property rights is something which is taking a very, very, very important profile and platform. And you will see on the screen this acronym called GIS-8. For those of you who are not familiar with GIS-8, GIS-8 stands for the Global Initiative in terms of sequencing of all information on influenza, the data related to influenza. So this actually is a public-private partnership that has been set by the World Health Organization, where GIS-8 actually is today the platform, an open platform where individuals and countries are depositing their genetic sequence information of the virus. To look at the speed with which countries are submitting information into this open source, into this particular platform, to give you an example, I wrote an article in International Policy Digest on this entire issue of how to deal with open source and how to deal with IPR issues on the 23rd of March. But of course, we had to edit it a little bit because of the numbers coming, because numbers were coming in almost on a daily basis. 3 days later, the article was published. So when the article was submitted, we had 178 sequences that were deposited on GIS-8, including 2 sequences from India at that time. And 3 days later, when the article was published, I actually had a mail from GIS-8 Secretariat saying that actually you need to redo your number because it is already 3,200. And today, when I say today, 2 days ago, that is the data I have, we have 25,396 sequence information, full genome sequence information of COVID-19 that has now been available or put openly for sourcing on GIS-8. The reason I'm mentioning this, and I link it up to the discussions on the convention, on the Biodiversity Act and the ABS, is that this side, when there was a question about how is that when this kind of a sequence information that is being shared on an open source platform being provided for those who will use it and potentially commercialize it, as of today, the only agreement that GIS-8 requires for anybody accessing that sequence data from their portal is for them to tick a box to say that we have agreed to all the terms and conditions. And if you look at the terms and conditions, the only requirement is that the person using this particular sequence information will only acknowledge the source as GIS-8 and if they know the country from where it has come. But as of now, beyond this, there is no discussion about benefit sharing. There is no discussion about Nagoya Protocol. There is no discussion about the convention, nothing like that. And one reminder here is that remember the Convention on Biological Diversity, which is a legally binding global agreement with 196 countries, excluding USA as parties, are legally bound to go by the decisions, the principles, the objectives of the Convention on Biological Diversity. And very clearly, the Convention on Biological Diversity says that all genetic resources, all biological resources, other than human genetic resources, are covered by this particular convention. So the biggest challenge that the convention today is facing, which is going to be a part of my discussion in 3 other webinars that will be a part of later today, commemorating the International Day of Biodiversity, is that how are we going to reposition the convention? How is that we are going to be reworking on the Nagoya Protocol, given the way things actually are happening? There is no one single country, including India, which actually had even thought that there is a protocol, there is a Ministry of Environment, which is the focal point for this protocol, before any of this data sequence is shared. To an extent, it is understandable because we are dealing with a pandemic, we are dealing with an emergency, but the difficult situations in terms of the IPR issues and access issues, benefit sharing issues are only going to come when a country is going to be coming up with a vaccine that is going to work. Whether it is US or India or Australia or UK, it doesn't matter. But those countries actually are going to be deciding on the IP issues, the cost issues related to this vaccine. And this is going to be a major concern in the weeks to come. And that's basically the point that I mentioned. 25,396 as of 2 days ago are the sequence informations available in this aid. So if the Convention on Biological Diversity, where we are celebrating this day, commemorating also the focus on biodiversity under the convention, is going to be important, and if there is going to be a focus on access to data and information as an important element of the Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing, I think Dr. Amit Agarwal is going to speak about access and benefit sharing issues, I assume. One of the very fundamental premise of the Nagoya Protocol is that anyone who accesses the resource with prior consent, and if there is going to be a benefit made, they are going to share the benefit. But interestingly, in the last 6 to 7 years, we have seen a very important dimension of discussion, inconclusive discussion that has come into existence, which is on, okay, if we are talking of resources, we do understand, but what happens if you are going to be talking about information like the digital sequence information, the sequence of the DNA, the sequence of the RNA and the proteins and all, does it come under the Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing? And I tell you, this now is the most contentious debate under the Convention on Biological Diversity. And in all possibility, this is going to be either making or breaking the convention's success as and when we meet in a few months' time, whenever we meet in 2021 under the 15th Conference of Parties to the Convention. So what the convention did was that they actually had put together a lot of experts and came up with a lot of technical articles in terms of how this issue need to be addressed. And as of now, the mood of the negotiators, which will have a huge impact on an industry like biotechnology, which will have a huge impact on an industry like synthetic biology, that you are all going to be associated with it, your businesses are going to be based on that, your investments are tied to some of this, is going to be very simple. If tomorrow there is going to be an agreement done by Ministry of Forests with very little input or consultation with Ministries of Trade, ministries like ABLE or the International Bioconsortium or ICC and all of those kinds of people, having a legally binding international agreement, you cannot share genetic sequence information and you actually formal contract or an agreement that includes benefit sharing before such sequence. Now, but very relevant as we is article that says that in case of an emergency, like what actually encourage and provide more access to data and information, go a much difficult and an obligatory contractual process. We don't know. We have not. I read the revisions to the rules are proposed that they will take 40 days as the time period required to process in case of an emergency. So common sense emergency. So actually are entering into a difficult situation where on one hand we'll have people who will be negotiating access and benefit share the Nagoya Protocol and Biodiversity Convention, who will be fighting breath out to come up with access and benefit sharing framework. Whereas on the other hand, we have government who will come up what is being and do what sharing. So what is very important for us to have, we need to data and information will definitely be open and will be sourced is going to be a given. Issues of ownership, that is where we basically need to be a little bit more rational based in our discussions on access, in our discussions on benefit sharing. Nature does provide solutions for a lot, but it can only provide solutions if you allow access for somebody to use. So if India is going to be pushing itself and is going to be positioning itself better, those are the 4 things that India should do. One, we do not have a national policy or a framework to deal with synthetic biology. The policy we are working at analysis of India and coming to national policy. It's very important not discuss any of these absence and lastly, related to courts, bureaucracy, this kind of a system is not going to. So I'll stop there just with one point. What is important, nature will give us, but you can only work on finding those solutions for nature if people have access to that information, transparency, and based on timelines that are workable, actually will provide us answers in a very, very quick and short period. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. So looks like there was some audio issues with the speaker. No problem. He will be here for some more time. So if you have any questions, you can ask us in chat here. Okay, and he will be responding to them. In the meanwhile, now is the time to move on to our next speaker. Okay, I hope my audio is clear, everyone. Is my audio clear? Please confirm. Okay, all right. So we will be moving on to our next speaker, Dr. Amit Agarwal, who happens to be the Director of Natural Remedies, and he'll be talking more about biodiversity laws. So Dr. Amit, if you could join us for the webinar.
Am I audible? Can everybody hear me? Good morning, everyone. Thank KBITS and Biotecnika for inviting me. I'll just share this. I hope everybody can see the screen, can see the presentation. I would not be really covering all the biological diversity regulations within this short talk. I would just be touching on some aspects of simple steps towards improving compliance to ABS guidelines, which were published in November 2014. Now, as probably you know that the access and benefit sharing is one of the three pillars of the Biological Diversity Act. The first one being conservation, second being promoting sustainable utilization of our bioresources so that they are available for long periods of time for future generation, and third being that there is a fair and equitable access and benefit sharing arising out of commercial utilization of such bioresources. The Act treats the users, bifurcates the users into Indian entities and non-Indian entities. So under Section 3(2) of the Act, all the non-Indian companies or entities are covered, while Section 7 of the Act focuses on regulations which govern the access and benefit sharing related aspects for Indian companies. The Act is so designed that the Section 3(2) companies are required to approach National Biodiversity Authority located in Chennai directly, whereas the purely Indian companies are required to approach their respective state biodiversity board. This area, in fact, requires a little bit of further clarification in terms of as to which state board should a company be approaching. A lot of times I've seen industry colleagues approaching that particular state biodiversity board where their registered offices are located. In the strict reading of the Act, the companies are required to approach those state biodiversity boards from where their biological resources are originating. As perhaps many of you know that many times biotech industry does not necessarily know, for example, a case of herbal industries who use, which uses a large number of herbs. There are times that the company may not really know from where exactly the biological resource has originated. We often only know as to from which trader or raw material supplier we have purchased our biological resources. So in such cases, the NBA and the state boards have been cooperative and accommodating, and they have been saying that, okay, at least you inform the name of the state where your traders are located. So strictly speaking, the bioresource-based industries are required to submit information on their annual consumption of bioresources under Form 1 to the State Biodiversity Board from where their bioresource is originating. One aspect that needs to be understood here is the law does not distinguish between an endangered species and a commonly or abundantly available species. Personally, at my own level, I wish that was not the case, but unfortunately right now, that's how the Act is, that's how the regulations are. The only thing that has been done is those species which are not a matter of conservation concern, which are abundantly available, they have been clubbed under a list called NTAC, normally traded as commodities, under Section 40 of the Act. And this list is also published. It was published and revised on 7th April 2016. So as of now, it has it covers 385 species. Many of them are cereals, millets, pulses, the common food items, and quite a lot of medicinal plants also are covered. So strictly speaking, in Form 1, when we submit to the government authorities the amount of biological resources that we are requiring to use in a year, we can omit out those species which are covered under NTAC. If one reads the NTAC regulation thoroughly, you would find that there are some explanatory notes given at the end of the list of the 385 species. And of those notes, there is a particular note. I have a slide on that. I can show you that. Um, the section 40 particularly says, notwithstanding anything contained in this act, the central government may, in consultation with NBA, by notification in the official gazette, which it has already done, declare that the provisions of the act shall not apply to any items, including biological resources, normally traded as commodities. And then the explanatory note is to be read along with this section.
Dr. Amit, can you make the slide full screen?
Is this visible? Is the slide
just
not visible?
Make it full screen, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it became, yeah, this is perfect.
Okay. So it says that the products that are derived from the species listed, the 385 species, are also to be treated as normally treated commodities, provided there is nothing unusual about them, provided they are not patented, or it's a matter of common practice. So you would find a very common item like a tulsi, for instance, listed in this NTAC list. So if you're doing a conventional use of it, it is exempted. But if you're doing any unusual use, if you are making a patented use, a very novel use, then this exemption shall not apply. This is what is specified in the Act and the rules. And so very simply, one simple thing every biotech industry or every bioresource-based industry needs to do is to start by first determining whether you are a Section 3.2 company or a Section 7 company, and then making a list of the bioresources, quantifying the consumption, maybe arriving at the value of that, and then submitting a Form 1 declaring that annual consumption to either NBA or of calculating ABS. Now, within the ABS regulation of November 2014, two different components have been described. And that is, either one can choose to pay based on the worth of the biological resource. That means the invoice value of your raw material, or you could choose to pay on the ex-factory sale price of your finished product. So generally, I have seen that products which have a significant component of value of biological resource, that means supposing your product is 100 rupees and perhaps more than 60 rupees is the component or the worth of biological resource, then it might be easier and simpler to pay based on the value of the product. And whereas if the component or the worth of biological resource is much smaller, then it may be easier to go to calculate based on the worth of the biological resource. Another benefit there when you choose a bioresource centric ABS calculation is you can exempt out the NTAC listed species. And there is also this debate going on, and the industry has sought clarification from the authorities, and that is whether purely Indian companies are required to pay ABS, or is it a matter of just mere intimation where we submit Form 1. And so the ABS applicability to purely Indian companies is being discussed and debated, and clarity has been sought. And as the decision comes out, the clarity comes out, and I'm sure most companies will start to comply. So at this stage, there is another aspect that I would like to just mention about biological resource, the definition of biological resource, and that is there. In case of the herbal sector, there are times when a herbal industry uses a lot of essential oils, oleoresins, and extracts. And the debate has been on whether or not these are value-added products. So if I'm using, let's say, a tulsi oil or amla extract in my formulation, is that to be listed in my Form 1 is something which is not yet clear. Again, here, as time passes and the implementation of Act and the regulations matures, more clarity will emerge. But there is a definition given in the Act for value-added products, and at times, though the definition is clear, is given there clearly in the Act, but its interpretation in terms of the herbal sector can sometimes still be confusing. Some experts believe that whatever is produced in nature by Mother Nature is to be treated as a biological resource, but whatever requires the intervention of a man and machinery is to be treated as a value-added product. Now, we have strictly speaking, we are required to be bound by the definition given in the Act, which says that any product which is physically inseparable and unrecognizable is to be treated as a value-added product. Um, so, as per that definition, it still becomes a little unclear as to whether or not an extract is a value-added product. I tend to think, and many other people tend to think, that they are value-added product because it is physically inseparable as well as unrecognizable with with naked eye or with simple senses. But some of the state boards tend to think otherwise. Uh, Apart from that, basic focus basically is documenting the consumption of biological resources and giving time to time intimation of the same to the government authorities so that they are able to quantify the extent of use, they are able to quantify demand and supply, and able to propose suitable management strategies for the biological resources. This is what I had to say in brief summary. I would be happy to take any questions if uh, time permits. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Amit Agarwal. That was really insightful. So, attendees, if you have any questions now, you can ask Dr. Amit. He's available in chat. Okay, he'll be very happy to answer you all. Okay, so we will wait for another 5 minutes. While you have any questions, you can type in chat and Dr. Amit will be answering those. Okay. Okay, there are a lot of questions coming up. It's really difficult to read individual questions. Okay, all right. Okay, so Dr. Amit, the people have been asking about what is ABS in your presentation. If you could throw some light on that.
Okay. ABS stands for access and benefit sharing. That is the fee that is payable for the use of biological resources, and this fee is eventually to be shared with the Biodiversity Management Committee, which is responsible for conservation and sustainable use of those bioresources. So ABS stands for access and benefit sharing.
Okay. So the next question, which is there from our attendees, is what is Nagoya Protocol?
Nagoya Protocol is an international protocol which is signed just like CBD, which Dr. Pisupati was talking about. And this protocol was signed in a city called Nagoya in Japan, and that's why it's called Nagoya Protocol. But essentially, Nagoya Protocol is an international agreement between different countries, which takes into consideration some consensus, some ways of working on international trade with the reference to biological resources. And while we do that, while we make commerce on using biological resources, how do we ensure that they are conserved adequately, they are used sustainably, and then that there is no exploitation of knowledge or the resource in any way. So that's what is the central theme of Nagoya Protocol.
Okay. So there is a very interesting question coming up, that how do we stop the misuse of natural resources in this era?
The Biological Diversity Act, which has been put in place, one of the objectives of the act is this only, that they want that the overexploitation of endangered species is to be stopped. Sustainable and sensible scientific use has to be promoted. And whenever there are times, there are knowledgeable people in our society, sometimes knowledgeable tribals, and if ever somebody is using that knowledge to do commercialization and to make money, then part of that money should be shared fairly and equitably with the provider of that knowledge, which led to the development of the product. So there have been some cases, some examples in our country where a popular institute like TBGRI, many of you may be aware, they found that there was some knowledge about a plant called Arugya Pacha in Khani tribe, a tribe in South India. And when the scientists discovered that yes, the knowledge of the tribals was true, then that information was converted into a technology and a product. And then that was licensed to a pharmaceutical company or a herbal company. And then that herbal company did benefit sharing with the tribals. They paid some money, some monetary benefits, and some non-monetary benefits were shared with the Kani tribe. That is examples of how ABS is to be implemented or has been implemented in the past.
Okay. Could you please switch on your camera because it's not visible, I guess. Yeah, all right. So we have one more question coming up. That is, how do we go about the patent part of the biological products?
Within the Patent Act as well as in the Biological Diversity Act, there is provision. I mean, if you have a significant novelty and your invention is patentable, the Section 6 of the Act requires that a prior permission of National Biodiversity Authority is taken before, actually at the time of applying or before the grant of the patent. Patent Office will not grant you any IPR, any patent, till they get a sort of clearance from National Biodiversity Authority. So it's good to become familiar with Section 6 of the Act and the subsequent regulations of the relevant in the Patents Act as well, which govern the use of biological resources for IPR.
Okay. All right. So now there's a few questions coming about natural remedies. If you could let us know about the product portfolio of natural remedies, that'll be really great.
Okay. So very briefly, Natural Remedies is a fairly old company. It has been a pioneer in manufacturing Ayurvedic veterinary medicines as well as herbal feed supplements. We also manufacture standardized herbal extracts as well as science-backed patented dietary ingredients which can be used internationally in food supplements, dietary supplements. We've recently started manufacturing standardized botanical powders and premium quality tea bag cuts. So it's a purely Indian company which is based in Bangalore, and we have been in this herbal business for close to 50 years. You can see more information about the company and its products at our website, that is www.naturalremedy.com.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Dr. Amit. I guess the questions will keep coming, so we would take them one by one in the chat box in the meanwhile. So thanks a lot for joining in today. If you have any special messages you would like to give to the young audience about biodiversity, you can do so now.
I'd just like to thank the organizers for giving this opportunity, and uh, I'd just like to share that without biological diversity is very important, and without which there will not be a long-term human future. It's that important. That's all I have to say. Good luck. Stay safe.
Okay, I guess my audio is not there. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I'm really sorry, I forgot to unmute my mic. Happens. All right, so thanks a lot for joining in today. I would like to thank Dr. Narayan, Suresh. I would like to thank Dr. Amit Agarwal, and I would also like to thank all my beloved attendee. If you can confirm in chat if you can hear me. Am I audible? Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. All right. Fantastic. So I would in particular like to thank KITS, which has been diligently working, Karnataka Innovation and Technology Society, Department of Electronics, Information Technology, Biotechnology and Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka. They have been really the pillars of support to Biotecnika and all the biotech industry, all the entire biotech, all the biotech companies. And I would also like to thank Natural Remedies and in particular the director, Dr. Amit Agarwal, for giving us such an insightful talk and sharing a lot of insights and inputs on Biodiversity Act. Okay. I would also like to thank Dr. Balakrishna Pisupati, who, even though he has a very busy schedule, he still joined us and threw some light on various biodiversity nuances and stuff. And unfortunately, Dr. Suresh, who happens to be the CEO of ABLE, his audio was not working, so he could just join in through video. His audio was not working. But still, I would really like to thank him for all the support he has given to Biotecnika and all our attendees for his insightful talk. Now is the time for a request. As you can see on the screen behind me, I want you to take a selfie of yours, okay? Just take a selfie, right? And with a plant, okay? There must be a small plant in your garden, right? So take a selfie and then post it on your social media. Type hashtag I am Biodiversity Hero, okay? In your social media, right? So as you can see now, I've just moved out. I am Biodiversity Hero. Can you see that hashtag? So this is what you're going to do, right? And then you are going to tag Biotecnika also, post a selfie, okay? After this webinar ends, I want to urge all of you to pay your rent to Mother Nature. I want you to plant a sapling if you can today, if it is possible. Plant a sapling today, nurture it every day, show your love to Mother Nature, and nature will love you back. Okay, so that's a request, special request for to all of you. If you can, if it is possible, please do that, and that way we can certainly pay our rent to Mother Nature. biodiversity, biological diversity, and the laws surrounding it are really complex. It is very important as a bioprofessional for all of you to understand these laws, and that is what our speakers were talking about. They also spoke about open access to data and various other nuances. I hope you could get the benefit. Now is the time for the e-certificates, okay, and also the feedback for the webinar. So what we are going to do is I'm going to display the feedback link on my screen. Okay, here's the feedback link. It will be pinged to you in your chat box also. I will do that right away. Okay, so here's the link. Please share your feedback at this link I have given in the chat box. I hope you got it, right? If you have not got it, don't worry. We will again give you in chat, or you can manually type it in the browser. Please give us a feedback on how was the webinar. Okay. How was the talk? I have shown on the screen right now. Okay. So I hope it was a nice experience for all of you. I request all of you to, again, pay the rent to Mother Nature on this Biological Diversity Day. Plant a sapling, take a photo, okay? And hashtag Biotecnika, hashtag I am the Biodiversity Hero, okay? I am Biodiversity Hero, that's what you're going to do, right? And the e-certificates, after you have filled the feedback form, will be emailed to you in the next 10 working days, okay? All right, so I hope you all enjoyed the talk. Thanks a lot for joining in this morning for this wonderful webinar. I would again like to thank all the organizers, all the speakers, all those who joined us for this cause. I would like to thank Dr. Balakrishna, Dr. Amit, Dr. Suresh, and all the organizers, KTech, FLEDGE, ABLE, Natural Remedies, for making this event successful. Now, I hope all of you have got the link. Please confirm in chat for the feedback. I hope you all have got the link. Okay, fantastic. So thanks a lot, guys. Let's take a pledge. Like I have always told you, you all, young generation, is the torch bearers of tomorrow. So understanding biological diversity, understanding biodiversity laws are very, very important. If you want to be successful in biosciences sector, you need to understand the importance of nature, and you must nurture it. You must pay your rent to nature. Okay. So with these thoughts, I would like to end this webinar. The feedback link is not working for somebody. Okay. We will ping the feedback link again. Can someone from Biotecnika please ping the feedback link again in YouTube? The link will work. I will show the link again for all of you if you can see on your screen. Okay. Yeah, the correct link has been given right now. Okay. All right. So do not forget to share your valuable feedback, that you give us insights on how to make it much more valuable for all of you. And really, I'm thankful to all of you for joining in for this webinar, because as I have always said, you all are the action takers. You all have really a very bright future. If you all come together, then we can make a better India for a better world. Biotecnika and all the organizers are always there for all of you to support and nurture you all, and of course, nature. Thank you for joining in. It was a pleasure. I hope everybody got the feedback link. Okay, fantastic. Thanks a lot for attending this webinar. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.